like a sissy, I would put them to work, dress them up in a maid's outfit or whatever I think is going to suit them, and then put them to work, scrubbing the floors with a toothbrush maybe, hanging out the washing, whatever. I love the fact that they will come in, get on their knees and bow to me. What's not to love about that? I'm nearly 75. I also love the fact that they'll come in, and from all walks of life. There is never an average type, that it's all walks. I've learned not to be a pussycat. I've learned to stand on my own 2 feet. And I've learned that I can lead my life and I don't need anybody else in it. I don't need a man in my life. If I had a man in my life, it's because I want him there.
Welcome back to the Sex and Space podcast. We are here with today Mistress Sofia, and so thank you so much for being with us today to talk about who you are and what you do. And I wonder, for our listeners who perhaps don't know who you are, if you could please introduce yourself.
I certainly can. I'm Mistress Sofia with an F. I'm a dominatrix. I'm known as the oldest UK dominatrix, as I'm now coming into my 75th year. That's about it.
Amazing. And so for any of our listeners who perhaps aren't quite sure what the term dominatrix means, could you possibly sort of unpack that for us a little bit, please?
Of course. Well, I'm a mistress, leading on to dominatrix. So BDSM, which is bondage, domination, sadism, masochism. It has different connotations. It's not always the same thing. But the gist of it is that I like to dominate. So people that come to me are submissive. Some as far as they want to be slaves or sissies. It's all a big sphere, but there are kind of different connotations to it. So.
And how did you get into this work? Because we sort of were doing a bit of research and we came across you and your work, and, I think you got into this when you were in your 60s. Is that correct?
I was just coming up to 60, yes. And it was a pure fluke, if I'm honest. I was in the middle of a divorce. My ex had left me financially embarrassed. So although I was working, I knew I had to make more money to make ends meet. And I was flicking through the channels one night and I came across a documentary about phone chat girls or phone sex or whatever, however you want to label it. Well, it made me laugh. It was some of it was extremely funny. And so I thought I could do that. So I had a chat with my family, and they've always been supportive. I managed to get hold of one of the ladies that was in the documentary. So she was very helpful to me. I found a company that I felt I could work for, and I started being a phone sex chat, whatever you want to say. I can't say it particularly inspired me, but what I did notice that I would guess nearly 90% of the callers wanted some form of domination.
Interesting.
I used to do it in my bedroom because obviously I didn't want my children to hear, but I would come down and talk with my daughter and her friend, and it would always be, they'd be laughing. And it was my daughter that said, "Mum, you're doing it for peanuts. Why don't you do it for real?" And here I am.
Amazing. And so how did you sort of find, actually, the first question I'd like to ask is I've know that you said before that you prefer not to use the word client. So how do you refer to the people that you work with?
I would refer to them as slaves, sissies, subs. Client just, I don't know, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, which is stupid, I know, because there's so many DOMs that refer to them as clients. And also, I don't feel like a client means that I'm serving them in some way. They serve me. So, and that's a fine line as well, because obviously they're coming here for something they need.
Yes.
So I guess it's kind of a bit of each, but I still prefer that people realize that they
Mm.
are serving me.
Mm. And so when you say that they're serving you, would you be happy to go into sort of some of the things that they are doing when they are serving you?
Of course. Well, I can have somebody who, like a sissy, I would put them to work, dress them up in a maid's outfit or whatever I think is going to suit them, and then put them to work, scrubbing the floors with a toothbrush, maybe, hanging out the washing, whatever. Some slaves like to come on and work as well, painting, decorating, building, whatever.
Mm.
I like to have my feet worshipped, but I do enjoy foot massage. So it's not all slobbering over my feet.
Mm.
I like them to be kept in good order. Yeah, so they sort of, I am a sadist, so I do enjoy giving punishment. In saying that, it's always consensual. So if somebody's a masochist, and I always offer a safe word. Some don't want one because they trust me, but I always know how far to go. So yeah, I'll do punishment, CP, which is corporal punishment, CBT, which is cock and ball torture, not the other psychological thing. Although this has psychological feels to it, because I've got so many that come and they fill a need, and it's not just a practical need. It is in their brain. They have a little kink. We all have kinks, and I meet that kink. Not sexual. I do not give sexual favors. I don't give hand relief. Don't give any sort of relief in that way. A lot seem to think that a dominatrix, because we are in a grey area, so we are called sex workers. And to the vanilla population, a sex worker has sex. So it's not really a very good title for us, because we don't. There are some that are prostitutes but are now calling themselves doms, and so they do a bit of both. It's really not doing us any favors. Now, I have nothing against prostitutes. If that's what they choose to do, good luck to them. I just don't choose to do that. So I don't particularly want the title of being a sex worker.
Do you find that's one of the most common misconceptions about the work that you do, that people think that it is, that you are, having sex with these people? That's the kind of perspective that people have?
Absolutely. Because, as I said, a lot of them, they have actually been to a dom who has performed sex acts on them. And so they come to me and expect the same thing. So I'm afraid they're sorely disappointed. I do have on my website my do's and don'ts, and I do include that, but a lot don't dwell on my website. They just
Okay.
seem to think, even sex in my private life at my age is a bit iffy. So I certainly don't want to do it in my
In your
professional.
professional. Yeah. And so when when you have people coming to you, do they sometimes say, what they would like to get out of that experience with you? Or are you suggesting things that you think they might enjoy? How does that sort of relationship work?
I will always ask what their kinks are. There's no point in booking somebody a session and not knowing what they're into, because I could do something that they absolutely abhor. Well, they're not going to come back, are they? So I need to have that knowledge of what they like and what they don't like. And then I kind of take it from there. I do get quite a few that will say, well, what are you going to do to me? And as soon as they say that, it's, bleh. I'm not going to answer that. As long as I know their kinks, that's all they need to know, and that's all I need to know. But I'm not going to start saying, well, you're going to come in, I'm going to do this and do that, because, they're probably having a wank while I'm talking, and that doesn't appeal to me at all. So as long as we're straight, that they tell me their kinks, that's all I need to know. And I'm experienced enough to really take it from there.
And how did you learn? I mean, how did you sort of, I guess get educated in terms of how to go about doing this?
Well, I learned by making some huge mistakes because back then there was nowhere for me to go. I did Google some things or asked my daughter a lot of stuff because I didn't know what terminology at all. I mean, I thought uh, some terms like what is it? Water sports. I mean, I thought that was jet skiing. I didn't think for a minute it meant weeing. So I needed to learn a lot, and I learned by mistakes. And that's one of the reasons why I now hold workshops and teach. Because even something as simple as you think caning, it's not simple. It might look simple, but there are so many clangers you can drop, like, you know, you've got to be aware of the coccyx. You've got to be aware of the kidney area. You don't want to do wraparounds, and all
Okay.
this has to be taught. And I was very lucky. I had a sub that came very early on, and he'd been in it for about 30 years in corporal punishment, and he taught me a lot. Even though he was on the receiving end, he did teach me a lot. And now I pass that information on to people that come to me to learn.
Amazing. So you do a lot of teaching for other people who are looking to become a dominatrix in terms of how to
Yes.
be
And
safe.
also there's things like cleanliness and hygiene is so important. So that's one of the things I'm very fussy about, that they understand that everything has to be sterilized. You know, even a cane, especially you might draw a bit of blood, you need to sterilize your equipment. So yeah, if you come into my playroom, you will see that it's immaculately clean.
And so if any of our listeners are, listening, tuning in and going, that sounds really interesting, I'd perhaps be interested in coming to a workshop, how can they go about sort of finding that with you?
Well, I guess you could Google it. I mean, if I'm having funnily enough, I've got a workshop tomorrow. I do kind of advertise it a bit. You have to be careful what you put on Twitter, but I usually put it on my Twitter, um, that I'm having a workshop. How I do it is if they want to come and train with me, um, they just pay a one-off fee, and then they can come to as many workshops as they feel it's necessary. And I will promote them on my social medias. Um, so that's how I go about it.
Amazing. And are they in person, or are they online, or are they sort of a mix of both?
No, I don't do online training. They have to come here
Okay.
to at least 2 workshops, because there's so much to learn. You won't learn it all in one
Mm.
workshop.
How long did you sort of feel like it took for you to feel that you knew, that
Oh
you
my
were?
gosh, I'm still learning. Um, it took me, before I was really confident, I would say 2 or 3 months, um, because it's not just the practical side.
Mm.
Um, it's communicating with them. It, you have to be. I'm naturally dominant, um, although it took me a long time to actually realize that.
Okay.
Um, and so it does come quite easily. There are
Mm.
some that come to me to train, and I do feel, I mean, they're lovely ladies, but that street just isn't there.
Mm.
Now, whether they can educate themselves to sort of, take that on board, it's not always possible. I've had 1 or 2 that have had to leave simply because they just haven't got the confidence to. You have to be dominant. And that doesn't mean shouting and screaming at somebody. It certainly doesn't mean swearing. I mean, some do. I don't tend to swear in my sessions, um, unless it's a kink. If they've
Mm.
got a kink and they like to be sworn at, then
Mm.
obviously I can swear like the best of them. But it's not something I feel I need to do
Mm.
in just a everyday session.
Mm. I'm
So,
interested to come back to sort of what you said about confidence. I wonder, would there be any sort of advice you have to people in general listening who are going, I would love to be more confident in myself, in my life. Would you have any thoughts or any tips for that?
well, if I'm absolutely honest, I think how I gained confidence was doing the phone work. Start with when I first started doing the phone work, I was absolutely terrified. I well, the first phone call I had, I drank so much wine that I was off my trolley. Um, so it didn't really go very well because I'm
Okay.
sure I was slurring and but gradually I found I didn't need to have a glass of wine. I just
Mm,
got on with it.
yeah.
And it just comes the more you talk to people
Mm,
and the more you actually realize that how submissive they are. And that
mm,
helps because when somebody comes in and you can see the terror because most are frightened. Um, that's all I need to see.
mm,
And that makes me realize that I've got this. And I think most will understand that. One thing I would say is you cannot do this for the money. Okay, we all have to work. We all have to earn a buck and pay our bills. But if you're doing this just for the money, um, it's not going to work. I mean, I love what I do. If I won the
mm,
lottery, I would still do what I do. I'd just have a huge playroom because what would I do otherwise? I'd be retired and I'd be absolutely bored out of my tiny brain. So I would carry on doing it because I love it.
Can you
And
talk to so sorry.
one thing, subs aren't stupid.
Mm,
So if you're doing it just for the money, probably give them 30 seconds of coming through your door and they'll know. They will know. So
mm.
give them credit.
Can you talk to us a bit about what it is that you love so much about what you do and sort of, why how it sort of creates this passion, I guess, inside of you and makes you want to keep doing it?
Well, to start with, I love the fact that they will come in, get on their knees and bow to me. What's not to love about that? I'm nearly
Mm,
75. You know, uh,
absolutely.
I didn't get that when I was younger. So
Mm,
they love me. They want to worship me. I don't
mm.
allow body worship. I allow foot worship. But even so, they want to worship me. They idolize me. Um, I love it. I love the fact that, and I also love the fact that they'll come in and from all walks of life. There is never an average type.
Mm,
It's all walks, right from a high court judge, um, a surgeon, a dustman,
mm.
teacher. I've got them all. And they come through that door, and you can see they've got the world on their shoulders. They pass that all to me, and by the time they leave, their backs are straight. They're smiling because they've they've had, okay, you can call it a hobby, relaxation. It encompasses all sorts of things,
Mm.
and they can't wait to come back.
Hi, we wanted to quickly ask you if you could please subscribe to Sex and Space. Every click of that button helps us to keep doing the work that we do and bring you more great podcast episodes like this one. Don't just listen, commit, subscribe, and stay in our orbit. So, do you have quite a lot of like long-term relationships with some of the people that come to see you?
Yeah, I would say I've got several that have been come to me for years.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, they wouldn't dream of going anywhere else.
mm,
So I also have a couple of lifestyle slaves, and that's they don't pay. They don't pay a
okay.
tribute, but they also have no right to say, I want this or I want that, or
Mm,
can you put me in your cage? Can you cane me? Can you do this? They're there for my benefit. So if I need something doing, if I want the bathroom cleaned, or or the house cleaned, I just say, right, get yourself here at such and such a day on this time. That's what they do. Yes, I mean, they might bring me a gift, a bottle of wine or whatever, but I don't expect anything. I don't want payment for it because that's not what a lifestyle is about. So
And I'm interested to come back to something you said earlier that it took a long time for you to recognize that you are a dominant person. What point or what kind of triggered that realization for you?
I think what really triggered it was when I was doing the phone work.
Mm.
As the more I did it, the more confident I got until I found that subs were phoning me and asking if they could book a session.
Mm.
And that's when my daughter said, do it.
Mm.
Now, the company policy was we couldn't give out information and we couldn't take information.
Okay.
So when people started saying, could I book? I would say, I can't possibly do that. I can't take any information. I can't give you any information. Well, a lot would say, oh, that's a shame. But a few would say, well, I'm going to give you my number anyway or my email, and I'd be scribbling away. But as long as, because the calls were monitored, as long as I was heard to be saying, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, that covered me.
Okay.
But it also meant that that's how I got my first sessions before I had a website or anything like that. So I think that's when it dawned on me, hey, wait a minute. And even my family would say, sometimes my daughter says when I'm on the phone, Mum, you're not talking to a sub. You're, because it comes naturally now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you think, I mean, have you learned anything? Is there anything that comes to mind that you've learned about yourself since starting this work?
I've learnt not to be a pussycat. I've learnt to stand on my own 2 feet. And I've learnt that I can lead my life and I don't need anybody else in it. I don't need a man in my life. If I had a man in my life, it's because I want him there. It's not because I need him. And I would say that to any woman. We don't need a man. We are self-sufficient. And I'm happier now than I've ever been. I'm very happy being single. If I go out, I usually go out with a sub or a slave. We go out to dinner. They're very good company and they are lovely people. And I always enjoy an evening and I never have to worry it's going to be, oh God, can I come in for coffee? Or because there's none of that because they know
Yeah.
exactly where they stand. Although we can have a nice chat, they know how far they can go. They know at the end of the day that I am their mistress.
Those boundaries are there and established.
Absolutely, yes.
And I wonder as well, I mean, as you mentioned at the beginning, you are, the UK's oldest dominatrix, and I wonder how do you feel that your age has impacted the work that you do and the relationships that you have with your slaves and your sissies?
If I'm absolutely honest, so many come to me because of my age, because they like to be dominated by an older woman. They like the fact that although I'm in my 70s, I do take care of myself, and a lot of that is because I have to. And they like the fact that they think I'm attractive, and that pleases me, and I know it pleases them. So, no, I'm no spring chicken. I know I don't look like I used to look, but I'm in my 70s. I could look worse.
I think it's amazing too that you found a work that you love so much that you see yourself just continuing doing, that you feel so passionate about.
Yeah, I I'd like to carry on until I'm 80.
Okay.
And that depends on my health. Touch
Mm,
wood so far.
mm.
I'm healthy. Um, and yeah, I don't like to look into the future and see me with my feet up doing nothing. So, I mean, if I could go on longer than 80, then of course I would. But my goal is 80.
Okay. And is there anything that's really sort of surprised you in doing this kind of work?
Well, there's always surprises. Um, I think one of the things is when you get somebody who is very attractive, a really good physique, and they are very, very submissive. And that quite surprises me. Well, used to. It doesn't anymore, because I know that what's up here has nothing to do with the outer shell. But I think in the beginning it kind of did surprise me. But apart from that, does anything surprise me? No, I don't think so. I think one of the things that always kind of irks me a bit is the fact that people think that because a lot that come to me, they're married, they've got partners, and I do get slated with their cheating.
Okay.
Well, you know, I guess in a way, a lot of the partners wouldn't like the fact that they're visiting me, but they could be doing a lot worse. Like I said before, there's no sex, and they don't particularly want to be dominated by their partner because they are the man of the house and kind of, apart from the fact that firstly, they don't want to be dominated by their partner because they don't think their partner's got a dominant streak. And secondly, they don't want it to encroach into their personal life. So they come to me, and so many have had problems in their marriage simply because they're keeping this a secret.
I see.
For an example, I had a sub that came to me for about 4 years, and I knew a lot about him because they do tend to talk to me. And he'd been married for over 30 years. He'd had a lot of mental health problems. He was on antidepressants. Him and his wife had nearly split up several times. And when COVID hit, of course he couldn't come. And after COVID, I had no way of knowing, was everybody still fine? Because I don't get in touch with anybody. They get in touch with me. And I was very surprised. I got an email and it was from his wife. And she said that she'd been doing some paperwork, looking through their bureau, sorting a few things out. She came across a little notebook, and he'd kept a notebook and written about all our sessions. And she went on to say things I already knew about them being married for 30 years, about his mental health. And she said about 4 years previously, things had started to change, and he'd become happier. And she said, now I see why. And then at the end, it was a bit kind of bittersweet, because she then said, and I really felt that you would like to know that I lost him to COVID. So they'd had the happiest 4 years of their lives, and then he'd got COVID and died. So that was really, really sad. But
My goodness.
but it goes to show that what we do isn't always to be sneered at, that we're this, we're that. It's a lot will think it's a kind of therapy for them. And I really, really do believe that, because it changes their lives.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of submissive men, and their partners have no idea. And it's a strain keeping that a secret, pretending that you're something you're not.
How do you, in terms of when you're, with them and communicating with them, because I guess there must be some feelings of shame for them in terms of the fact that they enjoy this. So how do you sort of help them navigate that?
I think the shame kind of goes. They feel shame for the first couple of times that they come, they're sort of, I shouldn't have done that, and this sort of thing. And then they kind of realise that their life is benefiting from visiting me, and not just that, but their partners as well, because they have a happier. And how can you be ashamed when you're benefiting on both sides of who's the wife and him? Now, if I was an escort, that shame would still be there if they had a partner. But they do kind of realize that it's just, I mean, especially cross-dressers, they come to me. Some want to be outrageously sissy, and that's fine. So we just have a laugh about it. There are others that really, really are into cross-dressing seriously. And a lot, they'll cross-dress when they're at home, when they're younger, when they're single, and then they meet somebody and they automatically think, well, I'm getting married or I'm moving in with my partner. I'm going to leave all that, burn it all. That's the end of that. You can't do that. You think you can, you tell yourself you can, and then they'll move in with the partner, and then it starts to creep in. And then the depression will creep in because they can't do what they need to do. And a lot find me or somebody like me, and they come here, and I dress them up, make them up, teach them to walk, how to sit, how to act like a female, and then go home and be a male. And that keeps them going till the next month.
It really sounds like you're creating a very safe space for people to kind of express a part of themselves that maybe they don't always have the freedom to do in their daily lives.
Absolutely. And they trust me. So they know that I will never expose them, reveal them. I mean, there are a few that like to be filmed, and they like it to be. There are some that I know, like younger ones, a couple of younger ones that have said, oh, take pictures, take a clip, put it on and they're single and I don't care. And I will always say, once it's out there, it's out there. And you have to remember there is going to come a day when you will care, when you've got a partner, and then you're going to be terrified that one day she might find it. So let's not go there and do that. It's okay if I put a mask on them, but I'm not in the habit of exposing unless I'm sure they're at the stage in their life where it's fine. And I'm also not into blackmail and things like that. So.
And is there, sort of as we approach the end of the podcast, is there anything that I haven't asked you or that we haven't spoken about that you would really like our listeners to know about you or what you do?
No, I think we've kind of covered it. I think I've spoken about the health issues and things like that, which are very important. Always give a safe word. If you've got somebody new, always ask about their health. Do they have any issues? I mean, I could go on and on. Things like electrics, never use electrics above the waist.
Oh,
You've got the
why
heart
is
there,
that?
so you have to be very careful about that. If you're doing sounding, always make sure they drink cranberry juice for a couple of days before and a couple of days after. These are
Okay.
all things that I teach in my workshop. The thing is, I know people can, there'll be such a lot when this goes out of, I'm a prostitute, I'm this, I'm an old granny, I should be in a nursing home. I've heard it all. It doesn't bother me. But what you have to think about is we are necessary. Where if DOMs weren't about, where are they going to go? How are they going to cope with the kinks and the fetishes that they've got? Simple as that, really.
Absolutely. And I think, when likening it to, a form of therapy in a way, sort of like you mentioned,
Yeah.
these people are coming to you and they are, able to express something that they can't express in their life in other ways, and they go home and they feel better and their relationship benefits from it.
Absolutely.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
one thing we haven't touched on, and that's findoms. I'm not an advocate of findoms, which is financial domination, which
Mm,
is a lot of that is taking money for nothing. I don't do that. So I don't get in
mm,
touch with people, send me this. I mean, I have a lot of catfish that pretend to be me, and I get so many. When are we going to have that session that I've paid for? And they haven't, because it's not me. But
mm,
so what I would say is, if you're into financial domination, because it is a very real kink, do your
mm,
homework and do not, because unfortunately men are led by their genitalia. So if they see a woman that's showing her breasts or this, that and the other, they'll tell them anything. Don't,
mm,
because it might come back and bite you on the bum. Do your homework, find yourself a reputable findom, because, as I said, they are a
mm.
necessity to some. Don't get one of these young girls that's online, all this, I want all your wife's money out of the bank. They do that sort of thing. They will, and these guys, they just fall for it. It's ridiculous. So just be careful, do your homework.
And something actually I would be really interested in touching on is I saw in another interview that you did that you said that you don't work with women, and I wondered if we could maybe touch on why that is.
Oh, because I believe in female superiority. And why would I want to have a woman on her knees in front of me that's like a sister? Why would I want to
Mm.
punish a woman? I have no interest in that.
And so moving forward, so your goal is to do this until you're 80. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to, or any other goals that you have in terms of your work?
Uh, yeah, I'd like my books to go further. There was an
Mm.
opportunity, which I think fell through, of doing a Netflix thing for my first book. Um, yeah, I'm very
Wow.
keen on something like that. Uh, more theatre work. I have done some, like a night with Mistress Sofia. Like to do some more of that.
Cool.
Mm.
Yeah. And so whereabouts is that are those theatre things based?
Well, they're not. I mean, I did one. It was in.
Mm.
Oh my God, can't even remember where it was. It was a few years ago. But yeah, I would like
Yeah.
to do something along those lines, because people are curious. They want to know more. And that would be the
Yes.
ideal opportunity. And when I did do this, it was at the end of a play, and then I came on, and it was questions, that
Mm.
people were curious about. Yeah, I would love to do more of that.
And so if people want to find out more about you, they can head to your website. Is that correct?
My website, find me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter as Mistress Sophia, or at Sherry Lever, or on my Instagram, anything like that. Email
Wonderful.
me.
Amazing. I'll pop all of the sort of links and things in the episode description so that our listeners, can reach
Okay.
out to you if
Yeah.
they're keen to connect or learn more. And Mistress Sophia, thank you so much for your time today and
It was a
for
pleasure.